criminal recklessness and deadly weapons in Indiana. What do you need to know? So criminal recklessness, it's a charge that it doesn't always get the same attention as assault or battery, but in Indiana it can carry serious penalties, especially when a deadly weapon is involved. And the thing about criminal recklessness is that you don't have to hurt someone to be charged. Just acting in a way that can create a substantial risk of harm can be enough. And it can really range from a misdemeanor to a felony depending on what happens. Criminal recklessness, it could be a misdemeanor and a felony. There's a lot of different things that can go into it. The misdemeanor doesn't have a deadly weapon. It can have a deadly weapon when it's a felony, or other things can happen. There can be aggressive driving that can cause it to be a felony. Criminal recklessness is almost a charge that the state can use to encompass anything they want to charge. But criminal recklessness, obviously with a deadly weapon, is going to make it worse. It's going to enhance it to a felony. So let's just get into what criminal recklessness kind of at its base level actually is. Criminal recklessness happens when someone acts in a way that creates a substantial risk of bodily injury to another person. It's important to know that intent doesn't necessarily matter here. You don't have to mean to hurt someone. All that matters is that your actions were so careless that they put other people at risk, and that'd be acting recklessly. And acting recklessly, basically, it's a conscious disregard. It's an unjustifiable disregard for how you're acting. Usually, criminal recklessness is a B misdemeanor. It can carry up to 180 days in jail, $1,000 fine, and that's just you're acting recklessly, you do something. But if the act is done with a deadly weapon, it can become a level 6 felony or worse. So if someone is seriously injured as a result, that can make it a level 5 felony. So the way that criminal recklessness can be charged and what happens can mean it's a misdemeanor, it's a level 6 felony, it's a level 5 felony. The end result really matters on what the state's going to charge there. So here are some examples of things that could be criminal recklessness as a misdemeanor. If you were reckless driving in a residential area, maybe you're speeding through a residential area, it's 80 miles an hour, you swerve in between some cars, you nearly hit a pedestrian, but you don't hit anyone, but your actions did put others in danger, right? They could charge you with criminal recklessness. They could also maybe charge you with aggressive driving. There could be a number of things, but criminal recklessness they could charge you with. You performed an act that created a risk of bodily injury. Maybe you're throwing an object. It's a crowded area. You're holding a glass bottle and you throw it. You're not throwing it at anyone necessarily. You're just throwing it, right? But that creates a risk of bodily injury. Arguably, that's reckless. They could charge you with the misdemeanor criminal recklessness. You start a fire near other people. Maybe someone's burning trash in their backyard on a windy day and the flames spread towards their neighbor's house. They weren't trying to burn their neighbor's house down. They weren't trying to have the flames spread, but maybe it was so windy that they should have known that was going to create a risk of bodily injury, and so they're going to be found to be reckless. So there doesn't necessarily have to be any harm with it, it's just creating the harm. So what exactly then is considered criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon? There can be criminal recklessness as level 6 with a deadly weapon. There can also be the criminal recklessness that involves aggressive driving and serious bodily injury. But criminal recklessness involving a deadly weapon, it means that there is a deadly weapon, and a deadly weapon is an object that's capable of causing serious injury or death. So guns, knives, right? We have these obvious examples, right? A gun, even if it's not fired, just waving a gun around can be reckless. A gun can cause serious bodily injury. A knife, holding a knife in a threatening manner, even if you're careless, right? A blunt object, a baseball bat, a hammer, right? These can all cause serious bodily injury. But one that I think a lot of people don't think about, but that case law in Indiana has said is a deadly weapon, is your vehicle. If you are driving your vehicle is capable of causing serious bodily injury. It can be a deadly weapon. So what are some examples of this? If you fire a gun into the air, right? It's New Year's Eve, someone fires a gun into the air to celebrate. That bullet has to come down somewhere. Maybe no one gets hit, but there is a risk of harm, and you used a deadly weapon. They're going to charge that as a felony. If you're waving a gun in the air during an argument, maybe you're just waving it in the air, you're aggressive, it seems threatening, you never fire the gun. But just displaying that gun, maybe you pointed it in their direction or something like that, you have a deadly weapon, you are acting in a reckless manner, that gun could go off, it could cause bodily injury. You use a vehicle, right? We see this all the time where someone's driving and the car then becomes the deadly weapon because the way they're driving or something they do, they hit another car. The vehicle can be a deadly weapon. So what are the penalties for criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon? Well, if it's charged as a level 6 felony, which that's the lowest level it can be charged if there's a deadly weapon, you're looking at 6 months to up to 2.5 years in jail or prison. There could be a fine of up to $10,000. It could also be a level 5 felony, and a level 5 felony is if there is actual serious bodily injury that is caused. Right? And that can be 1 to 6 years in prison. So there is harsher penalties. And when we think of that level 5 felony, you could shoot into a home and just hit someone, or you could be at a shooting range acting in a reckless manner. Maybe someone gets hit. You don't mean to do it, you're just acting in a reckless way. But if there's a firearm involved, understand there can also be an additional firearm enhancement that goes on top of that, and it can make the penalties even worse depending on what you've been charged with and depending on what the circumstances are. So how do you defend against criminal recklessness? If you're charged with criminal recklessness, there can be some different options. There can be some different arguments. It really is case by case, fact by facts. But some common defenses, right? It's called criminal recklessness. So what you did wasn't reckless. Maybe the situation misinterpreted what you did. Or maybe you acted in what we might consider in a negligent manner, but you didn't act in something that was an unjustifiable deviation from the norm, right? So it wasn't reckless. Maybe you were acting in self-defense. So in the gun argument, you feel threatened and you do pull your firearm out. Your life felt threatened, you pull your firearm out. That can be self-defense. Maybe the weapon wasn't actually deadly. So if it's a situation where you pull out something and it's actually just a water gun, and they think it's a gun, and the police charge it as a gun, but then we can show, actually, this wasn't a real gun, right? It's not a deadly weapon. Then that can be another defense. There can also be defenses that the act doesn't qualify, whatever they said there, or that there wasn't actually substantial risk. There's a lot of different arguments that can be made, but it's case by case, it's fact by facts. So in Indiana, especially when there's a deadly weapon involved for criminal recklessness, you don't have to hurt someone. Everyone could walk away from the situation fine, but it could just be you acted in a reckless manner, and that becomes a level 6 felony because of the way you acted or what you had when you acted. And so it's really important to get a lawyer that understands the differences in criminal recklessness, and they're going to be able to mount a good legal defense. If you found this information helpful, hit the like and subscribe button for more legal insight. If you have questions, absolutely drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But also, if you're facing this and you have specific questions, right, give us a call at 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.